immediately.
Exactly.
One question, is there any science or studies done on in the future, let's say we have reached a level of sustainable, where we're producing locally, etc. What percentage of people would be engaged in active producing food? Is there any, because today in Denmark we're down to 5,000 farmers and we have 5 million people,
Wow.
roughly speaking. And so what percentage would be needed in the future? Do you have any estimates?
I have, for some reason, kind of want to answer this question in two ways. For some reason, the number 30% came to mind, but I think that there is there's some numbers in this book in terms of the percentage of people that used to work in the United States within farming. I may sort of be able to, in parallel, bring it up as we're talking, but the other part of the answer to that question, if we look at the in the process section, the ideas of self-production, what the idea of self-production is suggesting is that that a living entity is producing itself. So if we really took that to heart and we really understood what a living entity is, and that, let's just say for argument's sake, that a living entity is a community of people and all other species that are living on a geographically defined area, then we can say, okay, if it's producing itself, yes, it might be getting some very minimal inputs that are coming in from outside, but for the most part, all of the activities that service human basic needs, such as water and food and shelter and clothing and mobility and all of those basic things, that we can, they're all things that we can do. This isn't particularly hard to imagine.
Right.
They all have to be happening internally within a community. It really doesn't matter what portion of people are doing what. It's more that it is happening internally. And again, to the degree that it can be done without fossil energy, it kind of creates the landscape for the challenge of figuring out how do we do that in effective ways. I mean, it does make me think about some other numbers I've heard that are sort of comparable to this, where in some studies of Indigenous groups, I feel like they only spend about 3 hours a day doing like quote unquote work, which is the work that's required to self-produce and self-maintain themselves. So it's not all of one's time.
But if you had to apply the hectares needed for indigenous people to be able to do that model, how many people would be living on the earth?
Well, again, I think that's
something that's going to regulate itself.
Well, I mean, yeah. One of the best books, a really good book I read is a book called Surviving the Future by David Fleming. It's a dramatic title. It's more pragmatic than that. But one of the things that he does say on the topic of population that I think is really helpful is the idea that we don't actually have to worry about what the population of the planet is, because it's going to figure itself out. It's going to be far, far fewer than we have now. And if we would like to be productive about it, we might have to be courageous and make some decisions to sort of steward that decline in sort of a smooth and moral way. The chance of us doing that, I think, is really low. And unfortunately, it's going to mean that it's going to be quite catastrophic. And I mean, horrendous for many people, I think. But we will get to a smaller population because the planet simply won't support more.